What is the sentiment towards China now in the global investment community?
I would say it's constructive but selective.
What is your expectation about the bilateral dynamic?
China and the U.S. need each other. And there are going to be sectors where they're going to work together.
How much volatility are you expecting this year?
How long do you think this war in the Middle East is going to go on?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, these things are all factors in volatility in the market. And so I think one of the really important things at Franklin Templeton, we're long-term investors.
What's your take on the recent AI scare trade?
I think what happens is these tools make the human better and more scalable, but the individual still craves that human interaction. That's what I believe.
In terms of AI adoption, where are we now?
We are so early in this step.
Over time, will it change?
And once you get people confident with the tools in your environment, that's when you start to get the real breakthroughs.
欢迎收看《顶级投资人去现场》。本期节目去到的现场是中国发展高层论坛2026年年会。今年年会的主题是“15的中国：高质量发展与共创新机遇”。富兰克林·邓普顿首席执行官 Jenny Johnson 在年会期间接受了节目的专访。富兰克林·邓普顿是一家来自美国、历史近80年的大型全球资管巨头。截至2025年年底，旗下管理的资产规模近1.7万亿美元，是全球为数不多的万亿美元资管俱乐部的成员之一。富兰克林·邓普顿于1986年开始投资中国，1988年在上海设立办公室。Jenny 从业超过35年，在他的领导下，富兰克林·邓普顿成为了一家涵盖公募与私募能力更加多元的资管公司。今年也是 Jenny 第2次参加中国发展高层论坛的年会。Jenny 在采访中说，长期主义是对抗短期市场波动最有效的办法。他表示 ，AI 的应用还处于非常早期的阶段，但他坚信 AI 的目的并不是取代人，而是放大人力价值。
So, thank you, Jenny. Thank you very much for taking your time to do this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now we are at CDF. First of all, why CDF matters to you?
Well, I think the CDF is an important forum to, one, I think as a multinational company, to understand what China's priorities are, right? And so this is a great forum to hear those priorities.
Yes.
And I think it's also a message, for a company like Franklin Templeton, where we've been in China for a long time, that to be supportive and say, China's important to us. We have a local presence here, a lot of local clients, millions of local clients, and it's a message that it's important to us.
China enters a new policy cycle.
Yeah.
Yes. What is the clearest sign that you see overlap between the country's priorities over the next 5 years and your core capabilities?
Franklin Templeton, what do? We help people achieve their most important financial goals, right? And so if you keep a healthy, growing economy, people have excess spending, excess savings, and that's a good thing for us. And so, having that 5-year plan where they're very clear on the areas that they're focused on for growing, that's an opportunity for us. And then on the other side, right, when you take people's money to invest for them, you're investing in opportunities. And so when you hear the 5-year plan, where government policy is, where they believe there's good investment, things like manufacturing and robotics, other things. And so that gives a signal to the investors on our team to say, these are going to be important markets.
Franklin Templeton is one of the largest asset managers in the world. You are the CEO. Maybe you are the best person to answer this question. What is the sentiment towards China now in the global investment community?
I would say it's constructive but selective, right? I think because you see in the 5-year plan, they've already stated what's important.
Yes. Those
are going to be well-supported sectors. So those are always good opportunities on investments. So I think that's, where when investors are looking in at China and saying, is this an opportunity? There might be places like real estate where you'd say maybe it's not the best time to do it, right? So there's obviously very good opportunity in selective sectors, which is kind of the story in most markets.
Another interesting thing about Franklin Templeton, this is a company from the United States. We both know the tensions now between our two countries. What is your expectation about the bilateral dynamic?
For Franklin Templeton, we have clients in 150 countries in the world. Okay. We invest all over the world.
Yes.
So there may be some of our US clients who'll say, I'm not comfortable investing in China, or maybe I'm just not comfortable investing in certain sectors in China. Okay, that's fine. Well, then we'll have products that exclude that. On the other hand, we have a lot of clients in Asia, in Europe, in the Middle East, in Latin America, who want to invest in China. So it's our responsibility to go find the opportunities and make sure we have feet on the ground in China to find the best opportunities. And so China and the US need each other. And there are going to be sectors where they're going to work together. There's going to be policies where they'll work together. And there will be absolute areas where they both will say, no way, we're going to completely diverge. That's going to continue to be the case.
Jenny, we are only 3 months in this new year, 2026, but we have already witnessed a lot of amazing things.
Doesn't it feel like it's been a year in 3 months?
So how much volatility are you expecting this year?
How long do you think this war in the Middle East is going to go on?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, these things are all factors in
Yes.
in volatility in the market. And as I said, I actually think that the AI disruption that's going to come, that's also going to add volatility.
Yeah.
And so, I think we're living in times where it is volatile. And I also think that we're underestimating the impact of things like social media, that exacerbates any message that gets people
Yes.
reacting to today's news. And so I think one of the really important things at Franklin Templeton, we're long-term investors. And so our job is to understand what's noise and what is really a secular trend that's going to impact, kind of the investments over the longer term. Because actually, if it's just noise, it often becomes a great investment opportunity. If it's truly a secular change, then you got to make sure you understand that and position your portfolio for that.
That comes the big question. How to tell the difference between the market noise and the things really matter?
Look, I think one of the great advantages of Franklin Templeton is we have investment feet on the ground in 87% of the world's GDP, right? These are people in local markets that are scouring, they're reading the local paper, they're talking to people locally to really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most important things in understanding the news is how up to date are you on the latest information? And that tends to be very local. And that's how you have to determine what's short term and what's longer term.
What's your take on the recent AI scare trade?
Well, so let me first say, anytime there's a new technology, you tend to invest in what I call the picks and shovels. That's what we've seen, right?
Yeah.
So the next trade that everybody's talking about is energy. I don't know how that plays out, but the really important one is what happens to individual sectors and the companies within individual sectors who actually figure out how to leverage AI. And I think the pace of the change in this technology and the improvements in it is such that the companies that get it right in an individual sector are going to be the winners and the others are not going to be able to keep up. So you have to understand which companies are getting it right. And honestly, nobody's getting it right yet. Now, the question on this AI scare. So the whole thing is around enterprise software. And I got to tell you,
Wealth management, real estate agent.
let me go on the enterprise software and then, because I think that one is more of a threat than the other one in a second. I'll tell you why I think that. So enterprise software, you literally can use natural language processing, which means over time, you're going to say to yourself, am I going to go buy this really expensive enterprise software or am I going to try to build it myself? Yeah. And I think that will start to chip away, which means their multiples become a little bit more stressed over time. They're not going to have the same growth trajectory. But where you got all this noise in enterprise software was private credit because they had overexposure to enterprise software. But the reality is, in the term of the debt, they're actually profitable. They're going to be able to pay their bills. That's not going to be a worry. So I think that trade got overplayed. With this respect to, you're not going to need a financial advisor, or you're not going to need a real estate agent or whatever. Yeah. The only thing I'd say in 1997, the cover of Business Week in the US was the death of the broker, the death of the financial advisor, because the internet was going to completely disintermediate, right? Yeah. We have a software called TurboTax in the US and everybody, it was going to displace all the CPAs who do your tax forms for you because you weren't going to need it anymore. Number one users of TurboTax, CPAs. They can take 10 clients for every one they used to take. The financial advisor, just as many people are using a financial advisor as today as they were in 1997. So people still like the human interaction. And I think what happens is these tools make the human better and more scalable, but the individual still craves that human interaction. That's what I believe.
In terms of AI adoption, where are we now?
We are so early in this step.
And what are the barriers?
The barriers is that people don't like to change, right? I do my job this way. I don't want to have to go learn another thing to do my job. And by the way, that AI thing might take my job. So why should I use it?
All the time, will it change?
Oh, 100%. If you are not today as a CEO, this is my view, if you are not trying to drive the adoption of AI tools in your environment to find efficiency so you can offer more services to your clients, then I think you're going to be one of those companies left behind. There's a saying that's something by Thomas Edison that was something like, I didn't fail 100 times to make a light bulb. I learned 100 ways not to make a light bulb, right?
Exactly.
AI is like that right now in companies. And once you get people confident with the tools in your environment, that's when you start to get the real breakthroughs. And what it means is your clients will get more services at a lower cost. That's a good thing.
Jenny, you are the CEO of one of the largest asset managers in the world. Looking ahead to next 5 years, what do you think are the 3 most important trends shaping this industry?
I think private markets is critical. I think the next one is personalization. I mean, it's amazing the tools that are now there, to personalize your own portfolio based on your goals, right? And maybe you have 3 goals and they have different durations and different risk profiles. You can actually build portfolios like that are individual to you. And then I think the third big probably area that is important is tokenization. And it's more around blockchain technology itself. The technology enables certain things.
Maybe that's a new concept of money.
Well, so that's exactly right. You're definitely seeing this kind of, and money's money, right? I think honestly, the rails of financial services are going to be replaced by blockchain just because of the efficiencies that it has.
So thank you, Jenny. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I got everything I need.